Hey everyone, it's Tiffany.
And Andrew.
And today we're going to talk about Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Now, before we get into it, this is an in-depth review of this movie, so a spoiler alert is in effect.
And before we forget, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification button to keep up with all our podcasts and latest movie reviews. And with that,
let's get into it.
Okay, so I just want to get started by saying that every time this trailer came on when Andrew and I were watching a movie, I would just be like, I gotta see it, I gotta see it, I gotta see it.
Time.
It looked so cheesy, like I kind of knew what to expect going into it, but I am a sucker for a good action movie. I just love fight scenes in particular.
I couldn't believe you wanted to see it that bad. I was like, all right, we'll go see it, but it's like, yo, calm down, okay?
Yeah, I was pretty excited. I knew it was gonna be, average. But it was still fun, and that's what matters.
Yeah. For an action movie, I do think it was good. You know, there was not a lot of dull moments, even in between the action scenes.
It did not feel like 2 hours and 15
minutes.
Yeah,
it was a little bit longer, but
you didn't feel it because it was constantly.
They kept pace.
It was either funny, like a funny banter scene, or like a fight scene, which I can't get too distracted when there's like explosions happening.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot of like lags or lulls in the movie.
Right. So now this is still technically a Fast and Furious movie, even though it's Hobbs and Shaw. You know, we're right now we're going on like a divergent path within the franchise, and it does diverge a little bit. You know, this movie typically they've been, the Fast and Furious movies have been about cars, family, and they gotta steal something. Is usually what what is happening.
Yeah. What are we stealing? What's the heist?
And really, this movie starts out in the same way. It starts off with them trying to steal something.
Oh, yeah. Well, it wasn't them. It was the villain.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a perspective change. So rather than like they're like, criminals trying to get money or whatever. Right. Now it's like the criminals are trying to get money, and then Hobbs and Shaw are coming in and catching them.
But I mean, it does diverge a little bit. I mean, that's going to be their steps into this different direction where it's not just about the cars and the heist and everything. So it's very interesting to see how this is gonna go. But one thing that is still true, even though this is like I said, a different avenue for them, is that the theme of family still rings through this movie. Yeah. You have Hobbs and his daughter, you have Shaw and his sister, and at the end of the day, they're actually all more or less, even though they have their differences and their banter and everything like that, they all come together towards the end of the movie.
Exactly. Towards the end of the movie, Hobbs and Shaw, who really
they hate each other.
They do not
at the start
like
of this
each
movie,
other.
You'll see when they first start working together.
Oh my god, it's so
funny.
funny.
Not ready to work together.
It's so funny. They absolutely refuse to work together.
And that's part of the banter.
It's the one thing they can agree on is that the other person sucks. But towards the other movie, they're actually calling each other brother. Yeah. Even though the banter is still there, but it's like it definitely ties in with like with how family comes, they are family despite their differences and how much they do or don't like each other. But also you have the family aspect with it's Shaw's sister that they're trying to help throughout the movie, because she's gotten herself into a little bit of trouble. She's an MI6 agent who's kind of been
blacklisted, if you
will. Because in order to save the world, she had to inject herself with this apocalyptic virus. And so, they're not only trying to like save her from the CIA and all that.
Idris Elba's character, he also killed the rest of her team and made everyone think that it was her. So that's another reason why it's like, things are not going well for her now. Not to mention this toxin that she's injected herself with in a few days is going to basically boil her from the inside out.
Yeah. But it's nothing that her big brother hasn't been through before in regards to being blacklisted from the MI6. So there's definitely family in that aspect. And then Hobbs, the movie starts with his daughter wondering about their family tree. And it's literally
Hobbs and his daughter. Yeah, it was like kind of sad. Like, wow.
Yeah. And then, by the like climax of the movie, Hobbs is having to go home to Samoa, where his brother really has some anger towards him, and they have to work through it together to save the day. And then at the end of the movie, he brings his daughter to meet his grandma and his
It's bringing
the daughter's grandma.
Yeah, it's bringing the whole theme of family full circle.
Oh yeah, so it's definitely the theme of family is still there. But again, this is a very different movie. This is very much like a very big budget buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
They play really well off each other. The chemistry is great. I think one of my favorite scenes in the movie is, ironically, even though I love a good action sequence, is not an action sequence. So there's this scene where they're in an airplane and Hobbs and Shaw are taking jabs at each other.
Yep.
Their
more
jabs
more
are,
the banter.
it's so much deadpan that it like really it makes it super entertaining, because like I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where your friends are like dissing each other and you're just like, oh snap, you're gonna take that, and you're just like watching it happen. So this is happening, but you can sense the like tension is rising and you think like they're like, oh, you ready to fight?
They're puffing their chest up more and more.
Oh my gosh. And then okay, so when this was happening, I was like, it would be so funny if because they're talking loud, if one of these other passengers that are like, if you've ever been on an airplane, you're very close to whoever you're next to. It's like if one of these passengers just like interrupted them, like, yo, what the heck, chill out. And just as they're about to fight, that happens, and I was like, so predictable, but enjoyable. But what I didn't predict was it to be none other than Kevin Hart.
Yeah. Well, it's
I did not see that coming.
I didn't see a cameo like that happening, but it completely makes sense, especially with the chemistry that The Rock and Kevin Hart have, over the like 3 or 4 movies that they've done.
What's the most recent one that they did?
They did the
one
Jumanji.
with Nick Jonas. Jumanji, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the sequel for that as well.
Yeah, that one's coming out later on this year.
But yeah, no, it was. I was laughing, and the thing is, Kevin Hart, he's a funny man.
Yeah,
it
was
so
good.
funny, and he was like, so it turns out that he's the air marshal, which just turns out to be such a plot hole in my opinion, because the Hobbs and Shaw at this point are like 2 of the most wanted people, I think, definitely in Britain.
Yeah.
If not like because of the whole apocalyptic virus, potentially the world, because you have to imagine all the government agencies are going to be on the lookout for these people that are supposedly trying to destroy the world.
Thanks to Idris Elba's character,
oh, he really explains it.
They basically control the media, so of course they're gonna paint them in the worst light as possible.
So Kevin Hart is this air marshal, and he's like, "Hey, I hear you guys. I need a 3rd team member." Blah, blah.
He
like,
wants
I'm
to be
your
part
boy.
of the team.
I got you. Like, I've been laying low. I'm ready. Da-da. Here's my resume. He made him like a business card. It's so cheap.
Here's my resume. It's just a business card.
And he's like, he's trying so hard to get in on the action, and both Hobbs and Shaw are definitely like, no, 3's a crowd. No, dude. But in my head, I'm like, dude, if you're the air marshal and you just realize that the 2 most wanted supposedly terrorists are sitting right behind you.
But I don't think it was necessarily that. It was the more of what was happening was us 2 were alphas. We are on our way to get something done. It's like, you guys could use a 3rd man, and I'm an alpha.
But
we can all do this together.
He didn't recognize them from the news. How are you going to be an air
marshal
and not be up to date
part
on
of that plot
terrorists?
hole is with Shaw's changing the biometrics or whatever.
Their face. Yeah. They didn't change their face.
No.
And it's hard to hide The Rock. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it's so hard to. But the plot holes you just have to accept, because it was still funny, and I wouldn't change it for what it's. And the lovely part is that he later on in the movie, they do call up Kevin Hart, and he does help.
Oh my God!
He's in the bathroom, and he's like, "I'm in my office right now," and then the toilet brushes, and he's like, "Are you in the bathroom?" And he's like, "It doesn't matter where a man does his work. My throne is my throne." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
It was so funny.
It was good. I liked it a lot.
I hope he makes cameos in future movies. Like he's like the one tech guy that they call
the
on
one
every
recurring.
Yeah. But speaking of surprise cameos, so he wasn't the first one, which is why I also wasn't expecting another cameo. So the movie starts, and as we mentioned earlier, Hobbs' daughter is like, "I need to do a family tree project." She's so adorable. And then later on, none other than Ryan Reynolds comes in.
Yeah,
he's like, I got a job for you.
I was not expecting Ryan Reynolds.
I was like, was he in the trailers? Am I stupid?
Yeah, none of the cameos were in the trailers, so they did a good job at hiding that.
And I was like, I'm sorry, but Ryan Reynolds, he always plays himself.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, I shouldn't be surprised, because the director is also the director of Deadpool.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was like, man, is he playing Deadpool right now? Like, even in the end credit scene, like, Ryan Reynolds reappears again. So that's why I'm hoping that he has cameos in future films as well. But he's getting like, he's trapped in a room, getting attacked by villains. And he's just like, oh, we have another virus. The first one melted your insides, and the next one, well, it melts your outsides. It melts your outsides. But he's saying it in such like, Deadpool, like a Deadpool way of saying it. Meanwhile, like, he's definitely about to get mowed down by an assault rifle that's on the other side of the door. He ain't got nowhere to go. I'm sure he'll figure it out.
He's like, I'll call you back.
Magic. Yeah, but Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Hart, for me, they took a movie that was like, it probably wouldn't have been as memorable to, like, I walked down like, wow, those cameos were really cool. I enjoyed.
They were very good cameos. I liked them a lot. So
yeah.
So with all the cameos and all the fight scenes and everything like that, let's talk real quick about Idris Elba's character.
I just have to say, character aside, I really like Idris Elba.
Yeah, man, he's awesome.
A good actor.
I didn't realize he's been doing this. He's been kicking around the acting game since like early 2000, late 1990s.
He really pulls off the whole like tough, really strong character, I really liked him, and his character, honestly, throughout the film, I was surprised to see them beat him. I think it's, obviously plot magic.
I liked his character.
Everything wraps up in the end because the odds were stacked against them. Like when they say in the trailers that he's Black Superman or the Terminator, he was OP. Yeah. Like, my goodness, how he didn't win right away, I have no idea. Oh, I do, because the writers say so.
Yeah, of course. You can't have them lose in their first fight. Well, I mean, you can, but you can't have them, can't have them kill the main characters in the first fight.
No, but I think even at the end of it, I don't know how they pulled that one off.
Yeah, the whole working together thing, that part kind of took entirely too long for them to realize, in my opinion. It's like, all right, you take a punch and then I'll punch him, and then you take a kick and then I'll kick him, type deal. It was like, if you guys had any common sense, you guys would have been doing this stuff like, I don't know, 2 or 3 scuffles ago.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the movie, basically, so like, since he's kind of like robotic at this point, he through his vision, he can calculate what moves are going to happen, what percentages, like, so he knows what to do well in advance before it happens. He's got a supercomputer in his head. If he's looking at you, he can calculate all that information. So at the end, they realize, oh, if he's punching one person, someone else can come from behind or from the side, as long as he's not looking at you.
See, now that's always typical in movies like this. When you have any sort of movies that
they don't like each other.
No, not necessarily they don't like each other, but it's, you have like 1 or 2 good guys and a huge swarm of bad guys. They always come in one by one and then they get mowed down one by one. It's just like, if you all just charge at the same time, just go in there and mess them up. Come on now, guys. But that's typical movie stuff, but I know that's not how it would happen in real life.
Oh no, so I'm sorry, but the helicopter scene where they throw a chain and they're holding on to the helicopter and the helicopter's like nearly dragging them off a cliff and the Rock is holding the chain. It's in the trailer too if you haven't seen the movie. And he's holding the chain to the helicopter, and he's holding the truck so they can keep them together. I'm like, that's not possible. But then the helicopter like gets destroyed, so it falls down a cliff.
Oh yeah, there's no freaking way.
And let me tell you, when you see them hit the ground, it's like, oh, they died.
Everybody's dead. I don't care about your super soldier. I don't care about your regular people. Everybody. But somehow 5 people managed to survive this crash off a freaking cliff.
Actually, I think everyone that came off the cliff survived.
Yeah, the 5 people.
I didn't realize that was everyone. Yeah, and when you if you haven't seen the movie, when you see that clip and you see them land on it, it's like, you dead.
Yeah, y'all crazy. I know dang well this ain't gonna happen.
Idris Elba would survive because he's
super soldier. He's Black Superman.
But everyone else is dead.
Yeah, but it took them entirely too long to figure out what his kryptonite was, because like, god dang, man.
Way too long. But speaking of like, I guess, plot holes. So the whole movie rests on like, once they get into the fact that they're trying to stop this whole, everyone's insides melting and stuff. The sister has like the virus in her hand, and they're in capsules. And so this scientist told her, like, you can either get it out with this machine that's like, the whole movie is them getting the machine and fixing it.
That was option 2.
Because it was very like Mission Impossible-esque. Oh, and also, real quick, I apologize if you hear my cat in the background. He's being extremely active for whatever reason. I think he's doing it on purpose. But anyway, it's very Mission Impossible-esque. So option 1 is that they just burn her alive and the virus will burn with her. But she dies. And
to a crisp, they say ashes.
Basically, yeah, she's done for. And so I was just thinking to myself, like, the capsules are in her hand. Why can't they just cut off her hand and burn that?
Okay, so that's wherein lies the problem, because they're not in her hand, they're in her blood. So, like, the machine that they had, it was like a dialysis machine. It was just circulating her blood and filtering out the capsules. That's why it took a half hour.
See, when they showed the sequence of the thing sticking her in the arm, it looked like they were right there.
Nah, it went to her blood.
Okay, well, I was just, the whole movie, I was like,
just cut off her hand.
I was like, just amputate it. Like, I know that's not, but I guess.
No, that's not how that works.
Because then there'd be no guarantee that you got it out.
I mean, you can just cut it off at the arm, if by that logic. But
yeah, but
no,
if it's circulating, it could be.
It's going through.
I didn't realize that. Well, never mind.
Through the veins.
Never mind me. I know nothing.
It's okay. Better luck next time.
But it's okay because I don't think the writers knew too much about physics either. So we on the same boat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an action movie, so it's you have to have a certain amount of unrealistic scenes.
It wasn't a great movie, like plot wise and all that jazz, like but it was a very entertaining movie.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
The action is bigger. Actually, I would say it's not the biggest. I'm sure they've had more stuntier scenes in the Fast and Furious franchise, because I think it's getting harder for them to top themselves, in all honesty. But there was a lot of action. Yeah. It was just a lot of long scenes, I would say.
Yeah.
Where it's not like, one short stunt and then it's like they're done. It's like, no, the stunt keep going and going and going and going.
Yeah, but as far as the stunts, it does go back to typical Fast and Furious stuff, where it's like, there's no freaking way that would happen with that car.
Way, absolutely. I turned to so many times and I was
like, no, that's not how that works.
I don't understand. Like, huh? But it was good.
Yeah, it was entertaining.
It was good, and I know for a fact, unless for some reason they are like, we're not gonna do it anymore. There's gonna be a next one. They've set up.
Yeah, they've set. I think they've set the tone, especially with how the end happened. I think they definitely set the tone for another Hobbs and Shaw.
And I think in the sequel, Hobbs and Shaw's sister are gonna get together.
Yeah, that was
so explicit. Like,
it was very explicit, but it wasn't that climactic. It wasn't. I was expecting a lot more because they had the little. You could feel the tension building and everything between them throughout the movie, and then they did have like a quick little peck at the end. Mm-hmm. Well, not quite at the end, right before the final fight scene.
The last sunset.
But
I thought it was.
After everything was all said and done, I was expecting them to rekindle at least a little bit, or at least put whatever they had to rest if it wasn't continuing. But I guess we'll just have to wait for the next installment for that.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna happen.
So now,
whether or not they become like a Letty and Dom,
with the addition of this movie, do you expect to see them resurface in the next Fast and Furious?
No, I do not, because I know that The Rock and Vin Diesel do not like each other.
Yeah, they have been on sour terms.
If I remember correctly, the last movie, they did not have any scenes together. Like, they do not like each other whatsoever. Well, and so I think that this is in part, like, yes, I think they saw an opportunity. Like, people love Fast and Furious because it's just a heck of a ride, pun intended.
So in that case, just we'll separate these two and their differences and keep making money in movies.
Yeah, and not only that, but The Rock is insanely popular right now.
Oh yeah,
he's in
he's a money maker.
Yeah, so it would be dumb not to capitalize on his fan base.
Yeah, but I like his movies.
I mean, don't expect to see if he isn't, it'll be like a cameo, at least for a few movies.
Well, it's also dependent on what will they think of next type deal.
Yeah.
Because I mean, at this point, I don't think they can go back to their origins of street racing and stuff. But that's a different time to talk about it. We'll have to wait till the next Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a conversation for the next Fast and Furious,
which I think is coming out next year.
Oh, okay. Well, I will go see it because I love some good action scenes.
But yeah, that's about it for us.